Hi. Before I tell you about Neil Perry, I need to tell you about me. I'm an eldest daughter. That means I learn responsibilities before I learn how to ride a bike. It means my parents call me when something needs to be fixed. It means I carry a weight that no one handed me. I just inherited it along the way. I'm also a part-timer at a notary firm. I stamp documents. I write on our blue book or the notary register. I watch adults sign their names to lives that I will never know. Some days I feel like I'm playing a role in a movie I didn't even audition for. I'm also a friend. I'm also the one who listens. I'm the one who shows up. I'm the one who holds space for people's chaos while quietly managing my own. And I am also a struggling irregular student. The word irregular makes me feel like a broken machine, literal. Like I was supposed to follow a straight line, and somewhere along the way, somewhere a long, long, long way, I took a detour. That is deep. Or maybe that detour took me. Some nights I look in the mirror and ask, which one is the real me? The daughter, the part-timer, the friend, or the student who can't seem to get it right? And that's when I think about Neil Perry from Dead Poets Society. Because Neil was also a son, also a student, also a leader, also a friend. He wore the masks the way I do. And somewhere underneath all of them, he was just a boy trying to be someone, trying to become someone. This video is my diary entry to him, and to the mosaic I am still becoming. To understand Neil, we have to understand a poetic tradition called Transcendentalism. Um, this poetic tradition was a movement led by Ralph Waldo Emerson and Henry David Thoreau in the 1800s, where they believed in three core things. First, the oversoul. Next is self-reliance. And third is the divinity of nature. What is the oversoul? There is a divine spirit that runs through everything. Through nature, through you, through me. It means that we are all connected. A single thread weaving through every living thing. Second is self-reliance. Emerson wrote, "Whose will be a man must be a nonconformist." Masyadong malalim, di ba? True wisdom doesn't come from a society or institution. It comes from trusting your own inner voice, even when that voice disagrees with everyone else. Third is the divinity of nature. Nature is just not scenery. It is a cathedral. Sobrang deep. It is a cathedral. It is where you go to strip away the lies and find your authentic self. For the transcendentalists who believe in transcendentalism, Carpe Diem, which is the main point of the movie, is not just a slogan that you can say. It is a sacred act. Carpe Diem. It is refusing to live someone else's life. Emerson wrote in his poem, The Rodora, if I'm not mistaken, it says there that if eyes were made for seeing, then beauty is its own excuse for being. Sobrang deep. But when we think of Neil Perry, Neil's acting, his poetry, his joy on that stage, they were his Rodora. They needed no excuses. They were beautiful because they were him. But here's the problem. Neil is not born into a vacuum. He is shaped by the world around him. By his friends, by Mr. Keating, by his father, and even everyone else in that institution. Psychologist Eric Erikson studied how we become who we are. He said that adolescence is a stage of identity versus role confusion. So the question is very simple. Who am I? But for some of us, maybe for Neil, and maybe for you also, that question feels impossible to answer, and even for me. Because the people around us have already answered it for us. Neil's father has decided, you are a future doctor. You are a son who obeys. You are not an actor. You are not a poet. You are what I say you are. You are a future doctor. That's what Neil's father said. This is what Erikson called identity foreclosure, committing to an identity without ever exploring who you actually want to be or who you actually are. Neil has been given a script, and he is not allowed to rewrite it. Then comes Mr. Keating, whispering, Carpe Diem. Seize the day, boys. Make your lives extraordinary. Carpe Diem. Seize the day. Make your lives ordinary. Suddenly, sa movie, Neil realizes that there might be another script. A script that, to be written by him. His own story. Suddenly, Neil realizes that he can write his own script. But how do you become yourself when everyone around you wants you to become someone else? But here's the problem. Neil is not born into a vacuum. He is shaped by the world around him. By his friends, by Mr. Keating, by his father, and even everyone else in that institution. Psychologist Eric Erikson studied how we become who we are. He said that adolescence is a stage of identity versus role confusion. So the question is very simple. Who am I? But for some of us, maybe for Neil, and maybe for you also, that question feels impossible to answer, and even for me. Because the people around us have already answered it for us. Neil's father has decided, you are a future doctor. You are a son who obeys. You are not an actor. You are not a poet. You are what I say you are. You are a future doctor. That's what Neil's father said. This is what Erikson called identity foreclosure, committing to an identity without ever exploring who you actually want to be or who you actually are. Neil has been given a script, and he is not allowed to rewrite it. Then comes Mr. Keating, whispering, Carpe Diem. Seize the day, boys. Make your lives extraordinary. Carpe Diem. Seize the day. Make your lives ordinary. Suddenly, sa movie, Neil realizes that there might be another script. A script that to be written by him. His own story. Suddenly, Neil realizes that he can write his own script. But how do you become yourself when everyone around you wants you to become someone else? You can also watch in the movie where, after the play, Neil was glowing, his friends hugged him, he says the line with pure, unfiltered joy. This is the moment Neil has been reaching for. He plays Puck in the Midsummer's Night Dream. He is on stage, wearing flowers, speaking Shakespeare, alive in a way he has never been alive before. Afterwards, he looks at his friends and says, I was good. I was really good. Not arrogant, but just honest. For one night, the mosaic is complete. A son, a student, an actor, artist, all the pieces fitted together. Emerson wrote in Self-Reliance, to be great is to be misunderstood. Neil is misunderstood by his father. But in this moment, he doesn't care. He has found his Rodora, his beauty that needs no excuses. This is what us crave. This is what humans crave. This is why we try to live our lives to the fullest. We want one moment, just one, where the mosaic feels whole. Weird the pieces, stop fighting, and start singing. Neil has that moment. And it is glorious. You can watch the movie. But here's a tragedy we must hold on in our hearts. That moment doesn't last. Now we're going to the part where Neil and his father had this confrontation, where his father told him that he's going to Harvard and that he's going to be a future doctor. And then his father comes after the play, not to congratulate him, but to collect him. You are going to Harvard and you're going to be a doctor. Neil tries. He says, I was good. I was really good. He is not defying. He is begging. He is saying, please see me. Please see what I can become. His father looks at him and says, what is this? A new drama? He doesn't see Neil's soul, which was sad. He only sees a role being played incorrectly. This is the identity foreclosure. Neil's father has foreclosed every other possibility, where there is no room for negotiation, no room for the artist. Neil's mosaic begins to crack. The son piece is being forced to erase the actor piece. And here is the cruelest part. Neil is not just fighting his father. He is fighting every person who has ever shaped him. Every expectation, every whispered, be practical, and you can't, and that's not for people like us. We all have these voices in our mosaic. So what's the question? Which pieces do we let win? Alin yung pieces na nasa-speak sa'yo? We are going to the most devastating image in the film. Neil alone in his father's study, the room that represents everything he is supposed to become, and he puts on the flower crown, the symbol of everything he wanted to be. He looks at his reflection, and for a moment he sees both, the son, the actor, the whole mosaic. But the room is too heavy. The father absence is louder than any other presence. Neil opens the window. The snow is falling, pure, quiet, forgiving. He returns to nature, the transcendentalist's cathedral. And here, alone, he makes a decision that breaks my heart every time. Every time I watch the movie, it reminds me of how broken Neil was at that moment. He believed he has to seize the day alone. Alone. He doesn't know what he is not alone. He doesn't know that Todd, his friends, and even us watching, decades later, will carry him as a piece in our own mosaic, in my mosaic. Neil's tragedy in that movie is not just that he died. It's that he died believing he was alone. But he wasn't. And neither are you and me. We have come to the last part, one of my favorite parts, the Oh Captain, My Captain. While Neil is gone, we can see in the movie, Todd, the boy who couldn't speak in front of the class before, is the first one on the desk. He found his voice because Neil dared to speak first. The other boys followed, one by one. They stand together, not as individuals, but as a mosaic, each one carrying a piece of Neil. This is a truth that Neil doesn't live long enough to learn. We are not born as a single self. We are built in fragments by the people who loves us, by the people who fails us, by the people who shows us what is possible. The human race craves experiences. We want to taste life. We want to pluck the day and eat it with both hands, but we cannot do it alone. So carpe diem. Pluck the day does not mean seize it for yourself. It means hold the day in your hands and offer it to the people around you. It means letting yourself be shaped, and then in that turn, shaping others. Neil became a piece in everyone who knew him. Todd carries him. The poets carried him. And now I carry him. And maybe, after watching this video, it will carry you too. So here is who I am. I am a struggling irregular student. That means my path is not straight, but I am still walking. I'm a part-timer. I am also stamping my own document, one day at a time. I'm also a friend. I hold space for others, and I am learning to hold space for myself. And I am the eldest daughter. I carry the weight that was never mine to carry, but that weight has also made me strong. And I am a mosaic, made of everyone I have met, everyone who surrounds me, and even everyone that I have lost. Neil Perry is in my mosaic. He taught me that Carpe Diem is not about the grand gestures. It is about letting yourself be shaped by the right people and then, in turn, shaping others. So this is my Carpe Diem. Not a single moment of glory, but 1,000 small moments of being here, living, studying when it's hard, showing up for the people I love, letting myself not be seen, not as a role that I am playing, but as the person I am becoming. Neil believed he had to seize the day alone, but we don't have to. We pluck the day together, in laughter, in the late nights, in the work we do in our hands, in the courage to say, I am still becoming. So here is to the mosaics, here is to the pieces that we carry, here is to the people we have met, the ones who surrounds us and the ones we have lost. They are still here. It lives in us.